in the tech world, there are tons of very strong opinions floating around, like both from CTOs, tech leads, software engineers. And the crazy thing is, most of them, also generalizing here, of course, are correct, right? But they're correct in different contexts. And I think that's something that people tend to leave out when framing their opinion or their truth as the right thing, right? But oftentimes, a lot of things that are 100% the best thing to do as a startup, for example, below 10 full-time employees, might be the completely wrong thing if you have more than 50 employees, right? Or whatever size you want to mention here, right? And it also oftentimes depends on what industry you are in, right? Are you in fintech and healthcare? Are you just a basic B2B SaaS? And so on, right? And I think that differentiates good CTOs or CPOs or whatever C-level leadership, but especially in the tech-related field, differentiates, right? Like makes them really, really competent, is if they're able to find the right truth for their context, right? And the better you are in assuming and seeing all your constraints and your let's say resources that you have from a rather objective point of view, the better you can make certain decisions, right? So for example, if you're like a really simple example, if you're a tiny startup, right, and you need to move incredibly fast, then having pull requests and having other developers review your code might really slow you down and might be counterintuitive for the most part, depending on the industry and your deadline and all these things, of course, right? So there's always nuance, right? And it also depends on the feature, of course. If it's something security critical, then even if you have time constraints, you likely want to have someone review your code, right? But if, for example, you need to deliver tomorrow, which could be the case if you're a startup and you maybe didn't do the best job at project management, or you just didn't have the experience, or it just happened for whatever other reason, right? Then having those review cycles might be detrimental, right? On the other hand, as soon as you grow a little bit, you hopefully are less prone to such deadlines, and it still comes up, you hopefully still do pull requests and code reviews at the very least, right? Because you most likely have actual customers, actual users, and real money at stake, right? So just as a really rough and first example to this problem set, and why I think it makes much more sense to put more nuance into these kind of things instead of just generalizing and saying, hey, Kubernetes is the right thing, or this is the way to go, or do this, because in the end it really just depends, without sounding bullshit smart, right? It really depends on all your context, and the better you are at judging this, the more likely you make the right decision.